Well, the one thing I have to say, and I've noticed this in the first leg against Celtic, I noticed this against Leverkusen on the weekend, and I've noticed this today, that this Bayern team looks very tired and jaded. And I mentioned this at work to our colleague Ewan Robertson, and he pointed out to me, he's like, why are they tired? They had a break. And I'm like, well, they still have to play a lot of games and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, well, then he went into our database, right? And he's like, well, Celtic have played 17 games since the break, since the German winter break, right? In Scotland, I don't think they have a break. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stefan. But so Bayern have played 12 since the winter break. Celtic have played 17 games in the same stretch. Yet Celtic look like the team with the legs and the energy and the freshness. And that I do think is a little concerning. Why is it that this Bayern Munich team looks, over the last 3 games, looked like they were huffing and puffing? It starts with Harry Kane up front, who looks tired, but you just pointed out Jamal Musiala, who I agree with. Like he has been completely absent in this match and looks exhausted. Is it because of the added matches over several years? Is that it? Is it because of coaching? Is it because this team has, too many players that have had long careers and therefore maybe are overplayed over time? I mean, I'm not sure I can answer it, but I do think it is concerning because, I think they're really lucky that the Bundesliga title is wrapped up, because I do think that they might collapse, but I don't think it matters because they're so far ahead of Leverkusen that even a collapse at this point will probably be fine. It might make things interesting, but they're not going to lose the Bundesliga title at this point. But how on earth, are they going to win the Champions League, and where are they going to get the freshness and the creative mind to win the Champions League at this point? Which is why I'm agreeing with you, because if they struggle to unpick and have the freedom and creativity against the Celtic team, where is it going to come from when they play, God knows, Atletico Madrid or Bayer Leverkusen in the round of 16? Because that's the two teams that potentially await, right? It's a draw. It's going to be either Bayer Leverkusen or Atletico Madrid. And I think I would right now pick either one of them to beat Bayern Munich in their current form. And then you made it through this playoff, and then you're going out in the round of 16, potentially against Bayer Leverkusen. If Bayer Leverkusen go deep in this competition after knocking out Bayern Munich, and God forbid maybe even reach the final in the Champions League, winning the Bundesliga title back from them might actually be meaningless at that point, because no one abroad is going to care. They're all going to see Leverkusen and where they are at and how they play football. So this collapse, that when it comes, I just don't know, like what's going on with the squad at the moment and how are you going to fix it. And it makes me think that maybe they need a bunch of fresh legs in the summer to fix this overall. But if it isn't necessarily the squad and is coaching, then that also raises question marks over Vincent Kompany and what he's done in terms of fitness with this team over the last, how many months has it now been? 8 months. I think that is also something that I just find interesting and want to watch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be fair to Kompany, I think he is trying to shuffle the pack from game to game. We obviously saw quite a few changes from the Leverkusen match. Pavlovic was the most obvious one. He was replaced with Goretzka, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Stanisic came in, Guerrero came in. I think Gnabry obviously started when he hadn't started against Leverkusen. So I think he's aware of the fact that he has to kind of share the load in terms of the minutes for these players. I think in terms of the question as to whether Bayern and whether they have the capacity to develop into a team that can win the Champions League, I just think there's genuinely just too many players in this team that just aren't up to stuff anymore. I spent that entire game watching Serge Gnabry do more or less nothing. Kingsley Coman came on to replace Harry Kane, and he was supposed to play as this kind of false number 9. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was supposed to do what he ended up doing, but all he ended up doing was just drifting back out to the left wing and cutting back and skying shots over the bar or mishitting crosses. And it just strikes me that guys like Gnabry and Coman, and maybe to a lesser extent Leroy Sané, because he's maybe got a little bit more in his wheelhouse, but they're so one-dimensional. And maybe that's because they've just had it hammered into them for playing under, certain coaches and having to facilitate someone like Robert Lewandowski after season after season after season. But we've got to this point now where these guys just don't seem to have any agency of their own. They don't seem to have any intention of trying to win a game by doing something imaginative or doing something outside the box. Every time Coman gets that ball out left, everyone in the pitch, everyone in the stadium knows what he's going to do. And Serge Gnabry has never been the kind of guy who starts a move. Sometimes he finishes them. Sometimes he's a good second striker. He gets on the end of chances. He can score goals. He's not really the guy who's going to pick out a great through ball or skin 2 or 3 defenders and cut it back to someone to score goals. That's what Musiala's in the teams do, and he does it when he can. I think Michael Oliseh's been a breath of fresh air in that right wing, and I think he's done a good job of that. He didn't get the assist tonight, but I think he put the cross in for Goretzka, and it led to the goal. But those are just 2 guys. And if you want to be the best team in the world, or you want to be the best club in the world, you need to have more than that. You can't just keep having these kind of players on the left wing that just can't really do anything. And I feel like Kompany is really beholden to this kind of trio of Gnabry, Coman, and Leroy Sané, who, over the course of a season will probably pick up 10 or 15 goals and assists, but you really struggle to think of, I'm struggling to think of a time where any of them have really stepped up and been a match winner for Bayern Munich in the last season or 2. And then you add Harry Kane to that, who we've been quite vocal about this season as being a player who does kind of struggle in the big games. He also came off injured in this match. He hobbled around for most of the Leverkusen game. And, his record in the big games this season is pretty well documented if you listen to his podcast, routinely. So, if you look at that front 4 players, if you will, at any given game, only 2 of them are really capable of actually winning big games, And it's quite damning that one of them's a player who was playing for Crystal Palace last season. It's just a stroke of luck for Bayern that Oliseh has stepped into this team so well and has proved to be a great signing for them. And that's just the front line. You then look at that defence, and you've got Alphonso Davies looks good, Upamecano looks good. Kim looks a bomb scare from one game to the next. I thought Stanisic was okay, but by no means, a top class or world class right back in the making. Nor is Konrad Laimer. Sasha Bowie struggles to complete 90 minutes. And in that midfield, you've got Pavlovic coming through. Maybe Kimmich will stay on and get a new contract. But they're still relying on guys like Goretzka. So I'm off on a rant here because you can literally go through that entire team and there's problems all over the pitch. And it just strikes me that, yes, Bayern have got Kompany in, and I think Kompany's doing a really decent job. He's obviously going to go on and win the league title, and he's done a good job of doing that. And we probably can't expect too much of him from him in the Champions League this season because it's his first season. No one expects anyone at Bayern to win the Champions League on their first time unless it's Jupp Heynckes or Thomas Tuchel or whatever. But
no, Jupp didn't win his first year either at return. He lost that final to home.
But the point I'm making here is that unless Bayern are willing to basically sell 6 or 7 of these guys and sign another 6 or 7 guys, we're probably going to be in the exact same position next season because there's nothing about this team that makes me think they're going to inherently get better.